Hello everybody, Ty here. Uh, Been a while since I posted anything on this channel. First things first, I've moved, so obviously my setup looks a lot different now. I'm in a upstairs space, and if you look over here, it's actually a loft. So I'm in like an upstairs loft. Yeah, we got a new apartment. It's been very fun. It's been very interesting. It's been very stressful moving, but I just moved not too long ago. We got I don't know if I've ever shown Crouton, but we have another cat now. We have three. He's not a fan of the camera, I guess. Anyways, so I've talked many times about leaving the balisong hobby, but there's a question I've always had, which is, at the end of the day, when everything is said and done, what will be my favorite balisong that I've ever flipped? That is a question I've always wondered. What will be the end-all, be-all, one I always come back to? And I do now have an answer. And it sits on my desk. And it sits in a very small spot on my desk. You might have already seen it. It's there. First of all, I just printed that. Look at the little guy, look at the little turbo granny. Wow, adorable. Anyways, it's over here. This will come as a surprise to some of you, and it will come as a surprise, or it will not come as a surprise to some other of you. There is a long story behind this knife, but to shorten it, I bought a Kraken, is a Bowie Kraken, from like parts and pieces from different people. I got handles from one person, hardware from another, I got the blade from another person, like 3 different people, and then it was a Kraken trainer, and it was really sick. It was a messed up, mangled Kraken trainer, but it was awesome. I loved flipping it, had a ton of fun with it. And this was years and years and years ago. And then I sent it out to a modder. Some of you may remember this story. I sent it out to a modder to get speed channels and a polish done. That was a whole fiasco. Long story short on that scenario, modder took months and months and months and months to do absolutely nothing except destroy my handles and lose all my hardware. And yeah, I finally got the knife back in pieces. I just got the handles back, no blade, no hardware, no nothing, with giant, like, not speed channels, but it straight up looks like someone just took a drill and just started chewing through the handles. It was a mess. It was a whole disaster. There's videos about it. I'm sure you can find them somewhere on this channel. But that was really devastating to me. And that was like, I was so hyped to get this done. That it was tough. However, everything came out, and how much money I spent on it, and I never got my money back, by the way. I paid the modder $200, and I also lost my actual my knife itself. So lost my Kraken, out $200 cash, and yeah, it was rough. So what ended up happening was some very gracious members of the community stepped forward, and they made this happen. There's a combination of 3 things. So originally this was a Kraken trainer, and what happened was the glorious man Ted Flips, the absolute GOAT, needs no introduction. You've heard about him plenty of times. Saw the fiasco that happened with my Kraken trainer and was like, I'm not going to let this go on. So he managed to find a decent condition. I think it was actually like really good condition. Blue-handled Kraken trainer. And he just gave it to me. He just bought it and gave it to me, and I had a Kraken trainer again. Because I missed my Kraken trainer. When mine was broken and I got it back in pieces, missing, like, I got just mangled handles back, and those handles were like unflippably bad. They were so horrendously uncomfortable because there was just sharp metal edges inside the quote-unquote speed channel that was on those. So I couldn't flip those. Even if I really wanted to, even if I got a new blade, I could not flip those. They would tear up my hand. So, Ted stepped forward, and he just gave me a new Kraken trainer. And for those of you who might be like, oh, let me go ask Ted for a knife. No, there is a long history between me, Ted, and Ethan. Like, that only happened because of the years and months and years that we have spent all talking to each other and like running the channel and everything. There was a long history between us all. So it was a culminating moment of like, okay, everything that Ted has done for us and everything that we have done for him kind of all compacted into this knife happening pretty much. So, and that and Ethan Seraph, those were the two. Those are the big pinnacle moments from the GOAT Ted flips. But so Ted got me a Kraken trainer. It was a blue dual tone handled Kraken trainer, I believe. And then somebody on Instagram was like, "Hey, looking to trade for dual tone handles or something." I don't exactly remember how it went, but I traded handles with somebody on Instagram. I cannot remember exactly who it was. But I traded my blue dual tone handles for these silver handles. And the whole goal was eventually to have a fully silver polished Kraken trainer with jeweling on the side, which it still, meh. The jeweling wore off. Aluminum jeweling is not the best thing. It doesn't hold. There was jeweling on this. But, so I got these silver handles. And then I had a Bowie Kraken. It is somewhere in my closet over there. It is a teal and black Bowie Kraken, an inked Bowie Kraken. And this whole time during this process, this is a Kraken trainer. This is functioning as a Kraken trainer. So just for shits and giggles, I put the Bowie blade on it. No, okay, so hold on. I'm skipping a step here. This is a long time ago. I'm forgetting my memory. So Ted gave me a Kraken trainer after I lost mine. I traded silver handles with somebody else. So now I had a silver regular Kraken trainer. Then I sent it to a modder who is no longer in the community, but it is a modder that at the time I had worked with before and I had trusted. And he did his job. I know people who know that old modder don't like him very much, but at the end of the day, he did his job and he did it well. He returned to me polished silver handles. There was good jeweling on the side. Unfortunately, just over time, aluminum jeweling doesn't last very long. So over time, it has degraded. But when I got it, it was very, very good. And a polished blade, which this is not. This is not the full polished blade. I no longer have that blade. And that's not a negative thing. I gave that to somebody else because I wanted the live blade more. But so I was returned a polished silver Kraken trainer exactly as I wanted. But the guy I originally sent it to do my mods did not have the capability to do speed channels. And thank you to him for being honest and not just trying and completely destroying my knife like the other guy. But there was somebody else who was looking to do speed channels on Krakens. I think it was Tie Flips. Haven't heard from him in a very, very long time. Granted, I don't follow really anyone anymore, so I don't even know if he's still around, but he was doing speed channel Krakens, at least for a limited time. And I messaged him and I was like, hey, here's the deal, here's the situation, here's everything going on. And I believe I was like the first or second customer to get it or something. I don't remember exactly if I paid him or not. I can't remember if he wanted payment or not. If he wanted payment, I would have very gladly given him payment. But I cannot remember if he asked for payment or let me have it for free. I do not remember. However, I send it out to him. He does an amazing job, comes back. And this is before the Spiral Krakens that were released at Blade Show. This is before Krakens had an official speed channel variant. So this is a fully custom one-off. Also, this blade is completely dull. It is ground down to be completely dull. Like, it is a flat piece on the front. I don't know if I can... It's not going to focus. My camera's not going to focus. Let me see. Because I would like to show you guys, if I could. I don't think it's going to work. But this blade is... Yeah, there you go. You can kind of see... That is a completely flat edge. That is not sharp in the slightest. This blade is ground down to be completely flat because I like false live blades. I like the look and the flow of live blades, but I don't really like cutting myself, especially now that I'm not really in the hobby much anymore. It's not worth it for me. So I got the speed channel handles back, put the Bowie blade on the speed channel handles for my other Kraken, and it was like immediate love. It was like, this just feels so right. It feels correct. And there's a video earlier on the Blade Bias channel where I show that knife off, the Speed Channel silver handles with the Bowie black blade, and that was a pivotal moment, because that moment was kind of when I realized that expensive knives aren't everything. And this hobbled together mess of parts from like 4 or 5 different people and modders and everything was perfect, because I had crafted it to be perfect, and the people that were working on the project were doing their best to make it perfect. And it was a hobbled mess of parts and pieces from a bunch of different people, and at the end of the day, it was just a Kraken. It was no JK Orca, it was no all this shit, it was just a Kraken. But I knew what I wanted, and it was exactly what I wanted. So I wanted to put the black Bowie blade back on my teal Kraken, which it now is. So that knife is fully intact now. So I found someone online who was selling a Bowie blade, and picked it up from him, and got the front edge ground down so it's completely flat. It is unsharpenable at this point, because it is literally just a flat slab. Like, it has the milling of the regular Bowie blades, but it's a completely flat, like, edge. Not even edge. It's a completely flat spot on the front. So sharpening this would require some real skill and dedication. But this knife has remained probably my favorite thing to flip since the day I got it. And I've gotten a lot of really cool and really expensive knives. I mean, the Cygnus and the custom Medusa are up there as things that are like kingpin collection pieces, which I do still have. I would never trade those for anything. But when it comes down to it, when you kind of strip yourself back out of a hobby, and it has happened with so many things. It's happened with guitars. It's happened with a whole bunch of stuff. My arcade stick, like everything. A lot of shit that I do. You end up getting super deep inside the hobby that you're doing. And then you kind of take a step back and realize what I was doing at the beginning was my favorite all along. And that is kind of what has happened with this Bowie Kraken. Because the speed channeled Bowie Kraken is the only knife out of my entire collection that I have ever had and still have that to this day sits on my desk. It is the only one. Every other knife is in storage in that closet. The speed channel Bowie Kraken, the custom speed channel Bowie Kraken that's polished and has the custom blade and everything, is the only knife that sits on my desk in 2025. And the only reason for that is that it just does what I want it to do. When I stopped flipping for a very long time, I'm talking months without touching a single balisong, it was awkward. Every single knife I picked up just felt wrong. I tried to flip the Medusa, didn't feel right. Tried to flip the Cygnus, didn't feel right. Tried to flip the Arctic, did not feel right. But then I picked this up, and it just worked. It just clicked, it just worked, and I have more expensive knives. I have cooler knives. I have knives that look better, depending on what you think. But, by all accounts, I have better knives. But the reality is, it is just a matter of using what works. And if a knife is not working for me, there's no point in using it. And when you take a step back and you take a break, and you kind of set everything down for a little bit, and you're picking stuff up again for the first time in like a month, you realize what does and doesn't work, because you are no longer accustomed to everything that you're using, and it's going to take you a second to get back into the rhythm of certain knives. So this speed channel Bowie Kraken is the only knife in my collection that after months and months of not flipping, I can come back to like I never left. And that is more important than a price tag. It doesn't matter how much I've spent on other knives and how much other knives are worth. This is the only one that does that for me. And it's a Kraken that was built of multiple parts of different people. It went through 2 different modders and a whole story and history behind it. This knife took months to create. And honestly, it took months to create. But if it didn't flip the way I wanted to flip, it would be in that closet with everything else. But it doesn't. And it doesn't matter how much this thing costs or what happened, what went into it. Like, look at Pyro's, like, disgusting ass teal Kraken. I sat there at Blade Show last year and flipped that thing for like 2 hours because that thing just had some kind of aura to it that just felt good. And that is all that matters. Do not get caught up in prices, and I should like this because I spent this amount of money on it, and I should like this because people tell me it's good. None of that matters. After years of reviewing different knives, I've had serifs come through. I've had everything that you could think of, all the high-priced LDY knives. I've had all the squid knives come through. I've had everything across my desk. And at the very end of the day, after months of nothing, this is the only one that I come back to. And this is the only one, if I had to sell every single knife except one, I would keep this. And this is just a Kraken. Granted, it is a slightly modified Kraken, but it's just a Kraken. And that's it. That is my whole spiel. That is hopefully what you guys came here to see. The one knife that I always come back to is my speed channel Bowie Kraken. And that is the only modification to this that would affect the flipping, is just getting a speed channel in your Kraken, which now you can find used spiral Krakens, which have a speed channel cut into them. This was before that. When I pulled this thing out at Blade Show and saw that there was a Squid Industries licensed, like, created speed channel Kraken in front of me, it's kind of sick. But at the end of the day, that is the only knife that I still come back to. So that's about it. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you guys eventually. Goodbye.